Hey guys, FutureMan19 here, and everyone is wondering what will happen on 9/23. So I'm going to break it down for you guys and share all the possibilities of what could happen, and then I will be explaining what I think will actually happen. So there are many ideas floating around the internet right now about what is going to happen on 9/23. It is only a day away, and I remember that when I had first put out my YouTube series called Spirit Wars that detailed all about 9/23, all of this crazy stuff hadn't even started happening yet. The first notable event that transpired was the August 21st eclipse, where the sun was darkened by the moon for upwards of 3 hours and traveled across the United States, stretching across the entire nation. After this event, everything seemed to fall apart after that, like a domino effect. Immediately following after, we had Hurricane Harvey hit the Gulf of Mexico and make landfall in Texas, where immense flooding took place beginning around the 25th and 26th. And since then, our world has been bombarded with disaster after disaster. We had Tropical Storm Lydia hitting Baja California, causing massive damage. We also had Hurricane Irma hit Florida recently, followed by 3 more hurricanes, Katia, Jose, and Maria. And also we have another hurricane forming that is named Lee, and this was just on our side of the world. There has been massive floodings in Asia and all around the Polynesian islands, with millions losing their homes in the process. We also have fires still raging all across our planet, even in remote places such as Greenland, Russia, Canada, and Australia. Earthquakes have been also hitting us non-stop. Since June of this year, there has been reported of over 15,000 earthquakes. Most of them have been tiny, but we are now getting hit harder with much bigger ones almost every day. Mexico hasn't seemed to catch a break and has been hit numerous times just in the past 2 weeks by giant earthquakes. Japan has also been getting hit with numerous earthquakes as well, ranging from high 4 magnitudes to even a 6.1 earthquake happening only yesterday. They are now bracing for more aftermath quakes and possibly even giant tsunamis. We also have solar flares and coronal mass ejections shooting towards us almost daily now. And suddenly, we have a giant threat coming from a super volcano in Yellowstone that could totally wipe out the entire west coast of the United States and deal massive damage to our entire planet's ecosystem for years following after it. If it were to go off, the eruption could emit ash that would expand over 500 miles, covering the ground with gray ash that would cause our crops and plants to suffer and perish. Along with the ash, the supervolcano would spew a whole bunch of gases, including sulfur dioxide, a gas that can lead to acid rain as well as global cooling as it reflects the sun away from the earth. The explosion likely wouldn't wipe out all of human life, but it certainly would be destructive, especially to the western half of the United States. Even NASA believes that Yellowstone's supervolcano is a greater threat to life on Earth than any asteroid or outside force, and have therefore focused their efforts to try and prevent any eruption from occurring. Their plan is to cool down the magma inside the volcano by drilling holes into it. The theory is that the supervolcanoes only erupt when the molten rock is hot enough to become highly fluid. In a slightly cooler state, the magma gets thicker and stickier. To achieve this, the Jet Propulsion Labs team calculated a supervolcano on the brink of an eruption would have to be cooled some 35%. They proposed to do this by pricking the supervolcano's surface, letting off steam, but this in itself poses higher risks. Drill too deep, and the vent could cause an explosive depressurization that may set off the exact kind of eruption the scientists were trying to avoid in the first place. So instead, NASA scientists proposed to drill a 10-kilometer deep hole into the hydrothermal water below and to the sides of the magma chamber. These fluids, which form Yellowstone's famous heat pools and geysers, already drain some 60 to 70% of the heat from the magma chamber below. NASA proposes that in an emergency, this enormous body of heated water can be injected with cooler water, extracting yet more heat. This could prevent the supervolcano's magma from reaching the temperature at which it would eventually erupt. Such a project could cost in excess of $3.5 billion, but it would be nothing like the reconstruction costs of digging 2/3 of the continental United States out from under mountains of volcanic ash if it did erupt. And aside from all these natural occurrences happening all over the world, our world is in a lot worse shape than you can even imagine. We have genocides happening in Myanmar, Asia. Hundreds of thousands have been ripped from their homes and thousands more have been slaughtered, including women and children. Satellite imaging has picked up showing villages being burned down and their residents being displaced. The genocides that are happening in Myanmar, as well as in the Middle East and Africa, are just like the times when the Nazis were exterminating all the Jews, but instead of one country watching it happen, the whole world is. And now, on the verge of peace talks with the United Nations, we have another form of a holocaust coming from North Korea that is threatening the entire world with nuclear weapons, while our own president is threatening them back with total annihilation. Probably not the best response, especially when you're about to give a speech about peace and safety to the UN. So aside from all these natural disasters happening, we have threats coming from outer space, threats of an end of the world scenario coming from a supervolcano, and a standoff between two superpowers threatening to annihilate each other, and of course, everybody is still wanting to know what is going to happen on 9/23. Some believe it will be the end of the world, which seems quite plausible at this point. Some others believe that it will be the biblical rapture, where all those who believed in Christ's name will ascend up into heaven to meet Jesus at his second coming and live forever with him, while those left behind will be tried through the tribulation period that apparently ends when the second great eclipse comes through the US 7 years later, where X marks the spot, and still others believe that nothing at all will happen that day. And now, this is what I believe will happen. There is evidence that there are parallel dimensions out there that hold parallel Earths. Earths just like our own, but with small differences that are almost invisible if you weren't looking directly at them. And even CERN admits to this, and other brilliant scientists also mentioned this, and this has been clearly evidenced by the Mandela effects. And there are some religions and faiths out there that believe we are at the end of days, where there will be a sort of a timeline split, where life will continue but everything will change in a blink of an eye. So what I believe will happen is that we will all go to our separate parallel Earths, where whatever you believe will happen will happen. This is quantum dimensional thinking, where you, the observer, changes the reality. So those who believe nothing will happen, nothing will actually happen for them. For those who believe in end of the world scenarios, like zombies or comets or aliens coming down, that will end up being their reality. And for those who believe that they will meet Christ in the air and be raptured up, it will happen for them. There are an infinite amount of parallel worlds out there that are being tapped into by CERN and by advanced quantum computers. They have admitted to this over and over again, and there are some of us who have awakened to a point where our consciousness is affecting the reality that we live in. This is what we have come to know as critical mass consciousness, where basically everyone's consciousness is battling against each other to see which reality will come out supreme. This is why the elites of the world are doing everything in their power to make you fear what is going on, and that by keeping you at a lower vibration of consciousness, it will birth a new reality for this world, a new world order you might say, and you will be trapped inside it. Because everyone has their own free will, which is simply consciousness, and for those who give their free will away freely, they succumb to whatever reality is engineered for them. This is why the elites have been so afraid of us waking up and receiving this hidden knowledge. Within their own secret societies, they have taken secret oaths to not reveal their secrets under penalty of death. This has been going on since the days of Cain, when he made a secret oath to kill his brother Abel to acquire his land and inheritance. And Cain was given a mark. You can find this mark all throughout history, in all of the biggest corporations and throughout all of mainstream media. This mark was to distinguish themselves from one another so that they would know who was a part of their secret club, since they can't openly talk about it. They apparently meet only so often in secret meetings like the Bilderbergs or at the Bohemian Grove, where they perform their ritualistic acts. These rituals are used to ignite the hidden consciousness that's deep inside of them to create the outcome that they desire. Ever heard of someone being cursed or blessed? People perform rituals to curse others because it leaves a ripple effect on the source field or consciousness field. The same way works for blessing others. You have probably heard of people asking for good vibes or for good energy to be sent their way. This is how consciousness works. And if you aren't using your consciousness consciously, you are considered asleep, and you are left unshielded or unguarded for dark entities to take you over and reprogram you. The biggest evidence of this is what happened on 9/11. Our source field consciousness was forever changed on this day. It was the biggest mass ritual that the elite was ever able to pull off. If you don't believe me, just try bringing up 9/11 in a casual conversation with someone. You will notice their body language change instantly and the vibes start to shift. These people are still affected by it, and we were reprogrammed to hate or be afraid of others. Their ritual worked, and millions were changed in a blink of an eye to value safety above all else, even above peace and love. So what do I believe will happen on 9/23? 9/23 for me will be another big ritualistic event, but instead of it being a negative event, it is a chance for us to finally be able to take back our lives from being ruled over by these sick people in power. They have all succumbed to the dark side, and they use negative events to create more fear because it gives them more power. They feed off this energy of fear. I know this sounds deep and dark, and it is, but you have to understand how all of this works to be able to defeat it. And we will not let them have 9/23. We will not let them ridicule and mock us any longer. This is a day that the whole world is already looking forward to. And for those who say nothing will happen, have probably the least motivation to make anything happen in the first place, so just ignore them. But honestly, we need many more people to wake up for us to be able to change our mass consciousness and steer it to a positive reality. And if you still aren't awake yet, this is your day to do so. Because if we keep living as we do, in an unsustainable, greedy, lust-filled planet, we at best have 7 more years to improve ourselves before irreparable damages happen to our planet's ecosystem and environment that will be unfixable. Hundreds of species are already dying out every year. Our ocean is being filled with trash and the fish are all dying. Our air is polluted and filthy, our lands are on fire, and the ice is melting. If 9/23 is just another day to you, and you choose not to do anything about changing your planet, then nothing will happen for you. But for those who wish to make positive changes in their world, then start today. Start on 9/23 with the rest of us and the world. We can do this, but only if we do it together.